SookyMMA is back, and I gotta be honest, I am pissed off. We got a 5-7 record after UFC London, puts an end to our winning record for the last 4 or 5 weeks, and the big thing for me was a few of those spots where we just, how do we go against Tom Aspinall after picking him every single fight since the start of this pandemic? I mean, that's a guy we've been talking about for literally years at this point, and yeah, Volkov's technical ability over the course of 5 rounds really just was something that stood out, but we were very wrong there. And to be honest, in my heart, I really felt like Tom could pull that off, and he definitely did. So no harm, no foul. From a betting perspective, I mean, I did put up some of those parlays that basically saved my butt, so I was really happy about that. Was very surprised not to see Gunnar Nelson finish on the ground, but still a very dominant performance, which is what everybody expected. And a few shout-outs, right? We see the Paddy Pimblets pull off what we expected him to do, but then you got the Meatball Mollies pulling off these crazy elbows that got everybody out of their seat. And what was really cool about that event for me specifically was seeing the little things, right? The UK does things differently. It's just like almost like the football fans that you get to know if you follow the sport the way I do, but like seeing Meatball come out as Paddy wins his fight. Like, there is something the camaraderie there for them to be able to get that moment, which is very rare in the UFC. Think about any past fighter, whatever the city, I don't care, of a fighter that fought previously to run into the octagon and then start cheering and be able to jump on the octagon with the fighter that just won. Like, think about how many times you've seen that in your life. It was probably slim to none. So I was very happy to just see those kinds of things come up. You even saw the attitude of Dana White, just so happy after the event. I think everybody was just happy after that event. And so, it was fun. We saw a lot of up-and-coming talent make a big name for themselves there. And, for a lot of us that maybe had that 5-7, that 50-50 pick'em record, but did all right on the betting side, I mean, let's get into, Fight Night Columbus, Blades versus Dawkins. I mean, I'd be lying if I said my favorite storyline in this is, watching Matt Brown fight in Columbus this weekend. I mean, that's going to be really, really fun. But outside of that, there's plenty to get into. So, let's actually just dust ourselves off from that one-off performance. We had 2 sub 500 performances earlier in 2022, and we got our first one again. So we're going to not let that happen twice in a row, and we're going to get into Bruno Silva and Luis Saldana. Now, there's a couple of things about this fight that stand out to me a lot. Now, I do think that Bruno Silva is going to get criticized like crazy for his lack of output, but there's a couple of things that you want to take into consideration. Melzik Bardasarian is his last fight in the UFC. He took it on short notice, and frankly, when you look at how much he made Melzik work for his strikes, that's what you like about the Bruno Souzas. That's what you like about the... think about the guys like Lyoto Machida and how they fought, right? Very defensive, very, very counter style to his game. And I think that when you look at the shape that Souza's in now, he looks a lot better than he did in that fight. And the big thing for me was it was leg kicks, it was body shots, it was very technical output from Melzik to be able to get the points. He wasn't able to swing for the fences and nail big headshots. Like, there was a technical aspect to that fight that was very consistent. And I think the big thing for me is when you compare Saldaña's output in the previous one, he really threw himself out against Austin Lugo. Now, when you think about what Lingo had to do in that fight, he basically weathered the storm, and then just took over. And I think with Luis Saldana in a fight like this, I mean, I think Souza's going to be able to take a couple punches. He's proven it in the past. He's been able to take a lot of damage. I mean, if you can take the Melzik kicks and punches, I can see Luis Saldana, despite the volume that you see in the early parts of the fight, I think that there is going to be a technical side to this. I think Bruno not only proved to us that he can fight a guy like Melzik on short notice and be technical, but now he's going to get a guy that's a little bit leaner, a little bit taller, a little bit quicker on the feet, the way he fights, but the gas tank. That's where I see Souza being able to maybe come away with a big victory here is Luis Saldana tires out, and I think that volume aspect of his game is not going to subside, and I think if you look at the way Bruno fights, he's going to be able to pick it up over the course of 3 rounds, and yes, the volume is low, but I really think that if he's able to avoid taking too many shots to that lead leg and create some of his openings, he's got to use kicks, right? He's got that karate background. Use some big kicks. Take the fight to the ground. If you can get Luis Saldana to the ground and maybe make him work from the bottom position, you could probably get him a lot more tired and a lot faster, which opens up the door to really implementing your own game plan from a striking or a grappling perspective in the second and third round. You just got to get Saldana tired in the early parts of that fight. And on the flip side, I think that Luis don't change much, right? I think that output in the beginning can be managed better to be able to do it over the course of 3 rounds, but he looked good. In fact, he looked great. I thought the output was phenomenal. I thought that he looked like a fighter that was very much poised to come away with not only a finish, but maybe a potential, one of those 30-26, 30-25 type of decisions. But unfortunately, that's not how it played out. And I think Lingo was able... You always notice this about fighters, but when you are getting the shit kicked out of you, but you notice that you're taking damage and your counterpart is basically just being like, wow, what do I need to do to defeat this guy? I think that's what Lingo had in his mind. And I think that's what Luis Saldana needs to avoid against a guy like Bruno Silva, who has that technical karate side and that great counterpunching, who can also follow it up with some great jiu-jitsu. So I like Bruno Silva in this fight, despite a lot of people probably going the other way. I think that Melsik is a very tough debut, and he's going to have that full camp and a much more opportunistic opponent to try and showcase some of his skills. So in terms of guessing the line, I'm going with Bruno as a -150. We're going to use Bet365 as the compare. And let's take a look here. Bruno Silva, +100. Luis Saldana, -125. So this is very close to a pick'em. I like Bruno at plus money. I just think that there's opportunities for him to really showcase not only what he can do on the ground early, but then start to open up the strikes as Luis Saldana gets tired. And you need to utilize that ground game to make that happen. And for Saldana, it's manage that output. Make sure you can do it for 3 rounds. Take a page out of Melsik's book. Bruno's proven to be hittable, and especially in a point battle, you should be able to have your way if that's your game plan. So, that's the first fight. Looking forward to the rest. As always, like, subscribe, and keep it locked to SookyMMA. Peace.